Hello, Attorney Dan Marr from the Nashua, New Hampshire law firm of Hamlin Kerrigan. And I've been practicing for about 38, 39 years in the state of New Hampshire and in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for about 28 years. And during those years, I've dealt with a variety of situations where businesses have been stolen from. It could be a bookkeeper, it could be a business partner, it could be another fellow co-owner, it could be a vendor. And I'm going to be talking about those circumstances here. Obviously, the first thing you want to find out is what they took and how much they took, but you probably want to talk immediately when you learn about this stuff with an attorney and perhaps an accountant, not the company accountant, because the company accountant might have an obligation to disclose this to your co-owner this theft is from a co-owner, and certainly not the company accountant, company attorney, because also that attorney might have an obligation to share with both co-owners if it's a co-owner. But if it's a embezzling bookkeeper, employee, W-2 employee, or a vendor, in that situation, you can talk to the company accountant or the company attorney. But one of the things you want to figure out is the breadth of what's going on, and whether you call that person in and find out and see what's going on or not is completely fact dependent. I've had situations where I found out that somebody associated with the business, a vendor, a owner or a co-owner or a employee, the right move is to do what's called an ex parte attachment. In New Hampshire, we have a process that once you can go in without notice to the other side and try to seize assets, put a lien on assets, a judicial lien. So the court orders a lien on this asset, so it can't be moved. It might be a bank account. It's something called a trustee process account, where it gets served on the bank and the bank freezes that account of the bad guy or the bad gal, and in the or the entity, and or real estate, and they might deal with that in circumstances where there's actually, you can show some good fraud and you have, or good clear evidence of fraud, I should say, and you have the documentation to deal with that. If you're going in ex parte, you got to really impress the judge with clear documentation, not just that I've heard something. You got to convince the judge that if they're going to be freezing somebody's assets, that this is an important situation, and these assets aren't going to be around if you tell them ahead of time, and also that you have a clear right to recover this. So you want to find out all that information. Often with owners, with co-owners in a situation, you have an obligation to talk to the person. I've had plenty of cases, both arbitration and litigation, where the arbitrator or the judge goes and says, the two of you should have sat down, had a cup of coffee or a beer, and hashed this out. So if there's some discussions that you had, other than the person is embezzling, and there's really not anything to be said about it, if there's a disagreement between the two of them, they're supposed to be having a conversation, because as co-owners in New Hampshire, you have a duty of good faith and fair dealing with each other, and that includes actually talking to the other side and trying to work things out, with the exception of the fraud situations, and again, the attorney can assist you with that. With the embezzling bookkeeper, obviously that person's going to be losing their job real fast, and with the vendor too, you're going to be terminating that relationship with them quick too, so you might be taking an immediate step into actions on them. Thinking about how and when you go to law enforcement is an issue as to your recovery potentials. If you have an opportunity to recover, you may want to deal with your civil remedies first and try to collect as much as you can in what I would call restitution. In a criminal situation, that's called restitution, rather than retribution being punishment or revenge for that person. So in that situation, I prefer myself, when I'm dealing with this, to do as much as I can civilly in that matter. And then if law enforcement gets involved, and that's a decision for the client to see if they refer it, or sometimes the law enforcement may take it on themselves. At that stage, law enforcement may be saying, you're interfering with a prosecution, and they're asking you to stand down on certain things. So I want to do everything I can civilly to get as much money back from my client, the victim, as I can first, before it goes to any law enforcement issue where it's slowed down and with the subpoenaing documents and the like, and they're saying you're interfering with a criminal investigation. I don't want that. I want the criminal investigation not to happen yet. So I want to be able to collect whatever I can. But that's a decision for a client. I have seen sometimes an evolving situation with my clients, because I've dealt with a fair amount of these, where they are first focused purely on restitution, meaning get paid, and then they turn to retribution, where they get more and more frustrated with this person that stole from them, that they trusted. And again, it could be a vendor, co-owner, or an employee, but they trust in the business relationship. In that situation, they want to go for criminal indictments, and that would be a process that will take several months, sometimes up to a year or more, for them to investigate. And I prefer to give to the prosecutors, whether that's the state or the county attorney, the AG's office, or the federal government, the Department of Justice. I want to give them to them in a silver platter, because I've done some discovery and I've gotten bank records and the like, and I can hand it to them. So it's a nice, easier package for them to deal with. I'm Attorney Dan Marr. I've dealt with these issues before, both New Hampshire and Massachusetts. We're talking today about New Hampshire issues, but I'm happy to talk to you if the opportunity arises. I'm at 603-883-5501, 603-883-5501. I've done these weekly vlogs regularly, so you can just check on NashwaLaw.com, our website, NashwaLaw.com, and click onto my bio, and from there you can see my weekly vlogs. Look forward to working with you. The opportunity arises again, 603-883-5501.